Part D of Module 1, the title, Structure of Java Web Applications. Let us learn some more information. Now, so last time, Part C, we have some brief view on Java Web Applications. Now, but this part, let us learn the internal structure. And this is our last part. In our format of our modules, each module has 4 parts, 4 classes. Then, after this part, based on our schedule, you need to work on your first quiz. First quiz, all right? Yeah, so we are at that point. All right. D.1, the first topic, basic structure of Java web applications. Yeah. First, let us show you a diagram display the big picture of a typical Java web application. Yeah. And this structure is based on Java EE specification, EE Enterprise Edition, Java EE specification. So we're learning Java EE technology. Okay, so that's a big technology. So Java EE is a big technology. Okay, and there is pretty big document for the specification. Okay. Big document, yeah. And regarding this technology, yeah, so right now people refer to it by Java EE platform. When people call this technology as the platform. When you use platform, this is a extremely big technology. You can call it platform. Okay, yeah. So then, smaller than that, many smaller technologies you put inside this platform. Yeah. Sometimes some technologies, although smaller than platform, but also relatively big, people call framework. Many different frameworks people can plug into the platform, this platform, like Spring framework, like Hibernate framework, right? Struts framework. There were so many Java different frameworks can be plugged into this huge platform. Yeah. All right, so that's the basic information. And another thing about this Java EE is about its name. Its name keeps changing many times. Yeah. If you recall the Eclipse version we downloaded last time. Last time I talked about installation of Eclipse for Java EE version. When you download, let's say the Windows zip file, if you look at the file name, it has little piece JEE. Look at that, JEE. Yeah. That is one of the old names. This technology at certain period, it was called JEE. Right? But later, after a few years, it was changed to Java EE. Okay, Java EE. Yeah. So yeah. The reason I talk about that is because if you see different names, so you need to connect. Probably they refer to the same thing, same technology. Yeah. All right, so let's look at the diagram. The structure, look at this diagram. Yeah. This is a typical structure of a Java web application. Okay, yeah. The root, context root, okay? Top, starting from the root, that's what we talk about. Let me change the pen color. All right. Okay, all right. So this is the context root. Now, starting from there, then you can see welcome file. So later we will talk about welcome file a lot because there are many different rules regarding the welcome file. Today, just our first view of welcome file. Okay, yeah. So there you can see some standard required folders and file names. I will explain them one by one later. Yeah. Then at this bottom side, you can see that is your part. That is the place you put your project files directories. Yeah. And so here, if some of you had experience develop PHP projects, here, at this point, you can do some comparison regarding PHP project. Here, let's do some small comparison. PHP project. Do comparison, all right? Yeah. In PHP project, we don't have the middle part, the standard directory files. We don't have the middle part. We also have that welcome file, all right? And then we have the bottom part, your files and the directories, but we don't have the middle part. The structure much simpler. And actually the middle part related to the configuration. So we need that part because for some of the Java web applications, we need to use many different resources. For different resources, you need to specify different ways to use those resources. Yeah. All those things you need to specify in certain configuration files. So that's the reason we have that, middle part. All right. Yeah. But for PHP, we don't have that configuration file. All right. So for PHP, you just refer to your resources in the default natural way. Yeah. So that's the key difference. I like to point it out. All right. Next, let me explain one by one. First, the welcome file. Okay. The first file you will see when you visit the web application. Now, here, you just use the logic to understand why we need this file, because you want to provide convenience to your users. Think about a typical user when they visit your web application. Usually the user cannot memorize a lot of details, right? So the user can memorize the minimum, the domain name of your company, right? Domain name of your company. Then, if one more piece, the web application name, one more, yeah, because in the same company, you may have many different web applications. And you just send your user one particular web application. So that name, you should give it to your user. Other than that, you should not require your users memorize many other file names. That's it. Yeah. So for that reason, you don't need to provide the name of the welcome file. Right? You don't need to provide it. So leave it blank. Then the welcome file is called automatically when a user visits this particular web application. Okay, so that's simple. Yeah. So that's the role of a welcome file. So provide a convenience. Okay. Yeah. All right. Next. Without specifying file name. All right. Yeah. So but if without specifying file name, you should provide a default name. for the welcome file, right? Default name, yeah. So actually, for our Java web application, the default name is index.jsp. JSP, yeah, Java Server Pages, JSP technology. Yeah. In next module, our module 2, I will talk about servlet and the JSP, the fundamentals. Yeah. And in our previous demo, I already show you hello world, right? Remember the hello world, that is a JSP. That file, we call it index.jsp. Now you should understand why we call it index.jsp, because it is a default welcome file name. You do not need to provide its name. You can use non-default. Yeah, sometimes it is necessary. People may like to use a different name for their welcome file, but that is non-default. If you provide a non-default welcome file, you cannot assume Tomcat knows to bring it up when a user first time visit your web application. You cannot assume that. All right. So you need to configure it. Then we need to talk about configuration. If it's non-default, you need to configure it. Configure in this configuration file. Yeah. So we will talk about that. Configure a welcome file. All right. Yeah. So if you use a non-default file name, all right. Yeah. So then web-inf, capital letters. This folder extremely important. Web-inf, critical folder in a Java web application. It is required by the Java E specification, containing these things. From first part, configuration files. Configuration files. So typically many XML files. Although it's possible to use other text files. Usually configuration file must be text files. So then people can use text editors to change the content of configuration files. Okay? The text file. So, all right. Then Java class files. Java.class files. That means the compiled Java class files. Yeah. And the Java libraries. Libraries usually .java, Jar, .java files. Yeah. All right. So that is the web-inf folder. This folder is very important. Yeah. All right. Then this web.xml file, another important file, the standard configuration file. The standard configuration file. All right. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of the basic resources you can configure in this file. Yeah. For example, the non-default welcome file. We can configure non-default welcome file here. All right. Yeah. And later, when we use servlets, we can configure our servlets in this file. All right. And then many other resources in this file, web.xml. All right. Yeah. Then let me just recall the example, the demo I used in Hello World. That example. If you still remember, how did I create that project? In a window, there is a checkbox. Do you want to ask Eclipse to generate that web.xml file? Yeah, there is a small checkbox. If you pay attention to one of the steps, I didn't check it. Okay, if I do not check it, then this file won't be generated. won't be generated. So then we just use everything by default. So we cannot use any non-default, right? Anything must be default. So we have to use the index.jsp, default welcome page. Yeah. All right. All right. Yeah. And yeah. Alex came in. Yeah. Please at a later sometime remind me to check the your name. Yeah. In my roll call, I didn't check your name. Yeah. All right. Okay. But if here, let me give you some history information a little bit. Here we are talking about uncheck the checkbox for web.xml. Here, let me talk about this special issue. All right. Yeah. First, this file is standard. It is critical. All right. In old Java applications, old versions of Java web applications, if you do not have this file, your Java applications cannot run in Java servers. Okay, that's the old time. But recent versions of Tomcat, let's say Tomcat, recent versions, Tomcat team, they improve the, let me just say, they try to make the Java developers' life easier, right? They try to simplify. They try to simplify many little things to make Java developers' life easier. This is one part of it, web.xml. At old time, because we have to configure all the servlets, welcome files, those things in this file. So you cannot do without it. That's the older life in Java developers. But Tomcat team, they try to simplify it. All right. Try to make the development work as easy as possible. All right. So then for the default thing, so everybody knows doing the same thing, why you put there, right? It's redundant. All right. So first, they simplify that default welcome file. Okay. If you use index.jsp, no need to do anything. One simplification. The second thing, configuring servlets, that part, they want to make it out of that web.xml, out of that web.xml, okay? So inside your servlets, you can do configuration using a special technology called annotations. Yeah. I will talk about the annotation technology later. Very important for the modern Java developers. You have to use a lot of annotations. Yeah, so that's a big part of it. Java development. Yeah, annotations. Java annotations. If you do Java annotations, you can do the servlet configuration right inside your servlets. Not necessarily, you don't need to put in the web.xml. Okay, in that way, your web.xml basically blank, right? Nothing to do. For that reason, this file, you don't need to include it in your project. If you have no special thing in this file, then you do not need it. All right? Yeah. Because Tomcat can generate the minimum web.xml automatically internally. Okay, you do not need to see it, right? Later, when you run it, the Tomcat can generate that minimum web.xml for you automatically. All right, you just assume it's there. All right, the minimum. All right, yeah. All right, so that's the evolvement of Java development. All right, so that's the reason in the Eclipse you can see that checkbox. Do you want to check it? Yeah. Ask you if you need it or not. Yeah. So that makes sense because most of the time you do not need to check it. Right now, I believe for most Java developers, they do not need to use web.xml after a lot of so many simplifications. Okay, yeah. All right, so then the classes folder, yeah, it contains all the compiled Java classes. Alex again, all right, yeah. Okay, all right, yeah. Compiled, we know Java classes must be compiled. All right, Java classes must be compiled before you can use them, right? Yeah, yeah. All right, but in our Eclipse, we know the Java classes are compiled automatically, right? Yeah, so you don't need to do anything. Yeah. If your Java source files do not contain any errors, no error, then Eclipse compiles them automatically. Okay? Yeah, so you don't worry about it. Yeah. All right. Yeah. But in your mind, when you understand the project, you need to know there is a compilation step there. Okay, compilation step there. Yeah. All right. Next, lib folder library. It contains all the Java library. Yeah. So we use jar, J-A-R, archive file. Yeah. So we put in that folder. Yeah. All right. So if you put in those standard places, then you can assume Tomcat knows where to find them. Where to find them. If you put it in the wrong place, yeah, if you just, yeah, I don't want to use these places. I want to change to different locations. Then Tomcat cannot find, right? Tomcat cannot find them. Alex Schlitter, all right, Alex, yeah, sure, all right, yeah. So, okay, all right, yeah. This one, meta-inf, capital, meta-inf. In this class, we rarely use this folder, right? Yeah, it is useful for some special purpose, yeah. But for this file, we don't use those special things. So almost we won't use this folder, yeah. But I put here, yeah, just let you know there is something like that. It is there, but sooner or later, when you need to configure some very rarely used resources, probably you need to use that, right? Yeah. Here, one thing. Remember last time when I talk about context root, right? Context root. There is a default name for the context root, right? The folder name, right? Yeah, the folder name, the wall file name, right? Yeah, yeah. So default name. Yeah. But here, if you change, you're allowed to change the context root name. Yeah. There is one way to do it. So change the context root name. One way you can do, change a configuration file inside meta-inf. Okay? Meta-inf. Yeah, so you can put a configuration file, also an XML configuration file, context.xml. Okay, So in that context.xml, you specify you non-default context group name. Then when you run this web application, that name will be used as the context root. All right, yeah. So that's one way to use it. Other than this special case, then for the whole class, we won't use this meta-ins anymore. Okay, done. All right. Next. Yeah. All right. Then look at that big red circle. Look at that big red circle. I use that big red circle cover these two folders, web-inf and the meta-inf. These two folders are very special. How special it is? Data protection. These two folders have the data protection property. Resource, look at this. Resources inside are protected. What kind of protection? Resources inside these two folders are protected against external users. So the users cannot access the resources inside these two folders directly. All right, sorry. All right. Yep. All right. Users cannot access them directly. All right. So what do you mean directly? Yeah. Typing URLs. Yeah. We know each resource, there is a URL corresponds to it. Right? Yeah. Inside your web application, every resource has a corresponding URL. Logically, you can use that URL to access that resource. But if the resources happen to be inside these two folders, all right, they are not allowed to be accessed by users. Yeah. So if you know that, then if you have some information, data, files, you do not want your users access without permission, right? Without permission, because typing URL, they do not need to have any permission, right? Anyone can type a URL in a web browser. Without permission, they cannot access some sensitive data and files. So you will place in one of the two folders. Okay, then one of the two folders. So then, if they pass the authentication, authorization check, then you give them the permission. All right, so then they can access the files inside one of the two protected folders. So that's one main property for these two files. All right. All right, yeah, but it can be accessed indirectly. So that's the direct way. Direct way, the URL way. All right, indirect way. Yeah. So let me explain the indirect way, not URL one. Okay, indirect way, not the URL way. Indirect way, what's indirect way? So you call some resource, some other resource that you can access with URL to that resource, but that resource can access the protected file internally. That's the indirect way. That's the indirect way. You have to use some other resource in this web application to access some protected data. But when you use other resources, you have to pass the authentication, authorization check. So you have a chance to pass of, security check. Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. Next, class loader concept in Tomcat. Yeah. All right. First, what's that? Think about in a Java web applications, you need to use many library files. Yeah. So when you put the library files, you need to, not you, Java E specification need to tell Java servers where to find Java library files or Java class files, right? So the rules for Java servers. Here, that's the class loader concept. Tomcat will load Java classes, libraries in these places, only, right? Outside these places, then the Java server won't load them, okay? Won't load them, yeah. So let me give you these three places. The first one called a common class loader, common place, okay? Common class loader, yeah. Yeah, so let me use this diagram to so we can see the structure when we need them. Yeah. The first location for the class loader, I use that notation bracket Tomcat home, your Tomcat installation directory. Yeah, I use this notation to refer to your Tomcat installation directory. Yeah, because this location for different people, it is different. Yeah, so I use that simple notation to refer to it. So in your under your Tomcat home directory, there is a lib directory, lib, that directory. That is the common place for the class loader. That means when you start your Tomcat, the library files there always be loaded automatically. Okay, yeah. So that's some place you may put some commonly used Java library files. Yeah. For example, here, let me give you one simple example. For example, almost all our Java web applications at certain level, we need to use databases, right? Yeah, databases. Here, let me use that MySQL database. Suppose most of our Java web applications, we need to use MySQL database. And you need to use a driver file, MySQL database, in order to connect the MySQL database through queries. You need to use a special Java library file called a drivers file, MySQL drivers file, a Java file. So you need to download, put somewhere available for the Tomcat. Yeah. This is one of the places you may like to put there. Yeah. Because if you put there, you only need to put once. Yeah. Then later, all other web applications, if you want to use this drivers file, just use it. Okay, yeah, for convenience. Yeah. But for the special Java library files, special, that means only a small number of your Java web applications need to use them. Most other Java web applications do not need to use them. Then you should not put there, right? Otherwise, you put too many rarely used Java library files. But when those library files are loaded into JVM, yeah, here I need to talk about class loader. Where do we load them? Load into JVM, Java Virtual Machine. Java Virtual Machine, the big running environment for Java. Big running environment, JVM. Okay, yeah. So you always load many useless Java libraries into the JVM inside your main memory, right? And you use a lot of memory resource, you waste your memory resource, right? So that's the reason we should not play this. Rarely use Java library files in this location. Okay, yeah. All right. That's the first one. Yeah. The second location called the web app X. Yeah, this location, because it is related to your web application. Okay? Web app X. Yeah. X. Yeah. Refer to, some places. Yeah. All right. The first, compile the Java classes goes to this location, classes folders. That location, web-inf classes, compile the Java classes. Okay? Yeah. So for Eclipse, we do not need to compile the Java classes there by ourselves. Eclipse will do the copy for you automatically. Yeah. So you may not be aware of it. Right? People may not be aware of it. Where are my compiled Java classes? Most people may not be aware of that, but they are copied there automatically. All right. And that means compile the Java classes in that location. Yeah. So your web context root, web-inf, then classes must be the same name, case sensitive. Then those Java files will be loaded into the JVM automatically, available when you run your project. Those classes available. Okay? You can call them. Yeah. All right. Next, Java jar library files. Then Java jar library files, this location. Yeah. Web-inf under that folder, another lib folder, LIB, that folder. Yeah. So you put there, all right? Then from the common class loader from that part, as I said, rarely used Java web app library files. You should not put the common class loader location. Then you should put in this location, web-inf/lib folder. Yeah. Because only this web application uses it. Then we just put there. Yeah. Most other web applications won't use this library files. That's the reason it's better to put it. All right. So now, putting these three places, every time you start your Tomcat, they will be loaded automatically. So you don't worry where to find those files. They are available in the JVM. Just use them. Okay? But inside your project, just use them. Okay? All right. Any question? Any question? Yeah. All right. Next, two important properties for Java web applications: portability and separation. These two properties. The first, the Java web applications developed following the Java EE specification should be able to deploy and run in any compliant server. Yeah. So this property provides us convenience. That means when we develop Java project, Java web applications, we do not need to worry about the destination servers. What servers are they? We do not need to worry about that. We just use Tomcat to do it. Right? We make it work in Tomcat. All right. Then you just send to people who manage the production servers. They will find a way to deploy in a production way. Okay? Because based on this property, your project should be able to run in a different type of Java servers. So make sure it must be Java EE compliant server. All right? Yeah. It should be. Yeah. So that is the reason. So that is the reason most Java project developers, they just use Tomcat to do the development. Okay? Tomcat is small. It does not use a lot of resource on your laptop. Okay? But you do not need to carry a big server, huge big server in your laptop. All right? You just use a very little Tomcat Java server that you can write your code. Yeah, in some convenient place, right? Yeah. So have a cup of coffee in the library, in a coffee shop. You can develop that project. Yeah, right. Yeah, for convenience. Yeah. Right. All right. Then separation property. Yeah. Separation property, its meaning is different web applications deployed on the same server do not interfere with each other. Okay? Yeah. So the Java EE, that technology try to do protection. Yeah. Different web applications, they cannot access resources in other web applications from inside the server that way. That's not good. No. Because you can think about, for the same server, probably the different companies, they run Java applications in the same server, right? It could be, right? Yeah, some hosting company, they use one server, they can support large number of companies. So different companies, they run different Java web under the same server. So you should protect the resources for different companies. Yeah. So this property, separation property, it ensures that. Yeah. Then, two web applications deployed on the same server act as if they were deployed on separate servers. Yeah. If you want to access another web app in the same server, you have to use the URL, right? URL, because URL, that's the external one. That's everybody in the world, they just use a web browser, they can access any web application through URLs. Now, just treat it as a different servers. You need to go outside, not inside, all right? Go outside, then come back. When you use that URL, you have to do it through DNS, right? Go outside, right? DNS, domain name server, DNS. Yeah. Later, if I have chance, I will talk about that kind of basics. Okay. Yeah. Communication. When I talk about communication, right? I will talk about the DNS. Yeah, you have to go out of your server, send a request to DNS. The DNS will send, IP address, things back. So you use that to access different web application. Just sit in your same server, same server, but you just treat it's a different server. It's on different server. The way it works, just like working on a different server. All right, yeah. All right, so that's the meaning of the separation. All right. Yeah, all right. So you cannot access them through internal paths. We know internal paths, suppose you have a Unix environment, right? Linux, usually the web server, they may use Linux environment. The Linux environment, there is an internal path, right? But you are not allowed to use internal paths to access. Okay, yeah. So that will, one company may steal sensitive data from another company. So that's not allowed. Okay, internal access. All right. So that's our structure part. Any question so far? Yeah. All right. Yeah. So our next topic. Yeah. Let me go to the next topic. Yeah. I want to do. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah. Less than 15 minutes. Just a little more than 10 minutes. So I like to do a little faster. Yeah. What I like to do, demo 2 simple Java web applications. Okay, yeah, 2 simple. Yeah. The first one, what I like to do is a dynamic JSP. We still do a JSP, but last time we just print out hello world, not interesting. Yeah, but because it is our first web application. So we just want to make it work. Right. But now the second one, we want to print out some dynamic information. What's the dynamic? It keeps changing. All right. That's dynamic, keeps changing. Every time you run this web application, you will see something different. The data you will see is different. So that's the dynamic information. All right. So that dynamic information, so here, yeah, all right. Okay, yeah. All right, so yeah, let me just view the whole screen, full screen, yeah. All right. I just put one line in it, okay? This line you will see, we display the current date. We call the Java date utility class, and its method 2 locale string. We want to see the date and the time information. Keeps changing. Every time you load, you access this web application, you will see different date time information. Okay, yeah, so that's the first one. The second one, I also want to show. I want to create a servlet, our first servlet. All right. In this module, we will not, we just do some simple overview thing. We try to understand, different pieces, overview thing. So starting from next module, we will learn servlets JSP, the basic knowledge. But here, let us just look at these 2 simple examples before we end this module. All right. Yeah. Let me do the demo now. Okay. All right. Yeah. So let me just bring up Eclipse. Yeah. All right. Now, let me just do a dynamic JSP first. New dynamic web project. Yeah. All right. Let me just type dynamic JSP. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the everything else is all right. Yeah. I just click finish because that's all I need. Yeah. I do not need a web.xml, right? Yeah. I do not need the web.xml. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's see. We need to put a welcome file. Yeah. So let us generate our index.jsp. All right. Let's just type index. If you type index.jsp, it's okay. Yeah. If you do not type any extension, then the JSP will be appended. Yeah. So this one. All right. Yeah. Then we just put that line, dynamic code line. All right. Yeah. Dynamic code line. Yeah. Here. Yeah. All right. I can, I can even just use this line. All right. Copy this line. Yep. All right. Yes. That arrow bracket, that part, JSP expression, I will explain in the next module. So that special arrow percent tag, that kind of special tag, and there is also equal sign. We call it JSP expression. So I will explain that in module 2. All right. So after we have this line, we can run it. All right. Save the file and run this project. Dynamic JSP. Run on server. All right. Yeah. Okay. How about I just finish? Oh, yeah. The server not selected. Yeah. So that means we need to select every time. Yeah. So I tried to know. Yeah. Because its behavior every time for different versions, it's different. Oh, still, I need to select internal. Yeah. So that means every time we need to complete. Yeah. Expand it, select this server, finish. How about that? Yeah. All right. Yeah, this time it's okay. Yeah. All right. Yep. See, yeah, the font is pretty small. Today's date, you can see, yeah, the current date, right? Yeah, that's dynamic information, right? Current time, date, yeah. So because when you refresh it, it will be slightly different. Yeah. Refresh it slightly different. Yeah. Yeah. Because the purpose of that JSP, we want to add a dynamic data processing in our, how to say that, view files. Yeah. Because JSP files mainly used for view, display business data, the view files. Yeah. All right. Okay, so that's this part. Then we have just about 5 minutes. Yeah, pretty short. Let me run a simple servlet. Yeah, probably we could run a simple servlet, right? Yeah. run simple servlet. Let me just use the same web application. I add a servlet here. All right, so then we just run it. All right, yeah. But you need to do a lot of things. Yeah. So that's why beginner Java developers, they like to use JSP a lot. Because it's so easy. Yeah. So you can write code immediately and see the result. Yeah. For servlets, yeah, so you have to do a little more. All right, for servlets, look at this Java folder. We need to create a Java package first. All right, so let me, yeah, here, yeah, actually, yeah, let me see, yeah, package resource, source, yeah, here, main Java, this source node, Java resource, the source node. I want to create a Java package first. Yeah, all right, so package here, yeah. Let me call it edu dot UMSL, yeah, dot Java dot servlets. All right, yeah. I create this package. Yeah. All right. Then my first servlet, let me right click it. Yeah. New, find a servlet. Find a servlet, Java servlet. Yeah, right here. Okay, Java servlet. Yeah. That class name, let us call it hello servlet. You know, we need to capitalize Java class name. Yeah. Next, all right. Then the URL mapping. Yeah, that's the default one. If we want to edit, for example, here I may like to change lowercase hello. Yeah. When I use this URL pattern, hello, I call the servlet. Okay. Okay. All right. Then finish. All right. All right. Then a servlet skeleton file is created. All right. Then here you can see annotation here. You can see that hello / hello, yeah, is used as an annotation at web servlet annotation. You see that. All right. So then the file here do get. All right. Do get here append. Yeah. Append. How about this? How about we just type hello world here? How about that? Hello world. Yeah. Here. All right. Yeah. We just want to see the servlet works. All right. Nothing more. Save. All right. Then after you write the code of your servlet, you need to have a chance to access it, right? Access it. Let's go back to index.jsp. Let's put a, you know, all right, and put this tag, okay. Hello, all right. Yeah. And href, right? Href. How about that? Href, all right? Call servlet, hello, all right? So let's save it. Okay, all right. Then go back to our this previous page. Let's refresh. It is still running. Yeah, see hello link, right? Hello link, click it. Oh, yeah. All right, something wrong. Yeah. Yeah. Let me dynamic. Hello is not available. Yeah. All right. Not available. Let's do this. Yeah. Because after we add a servlet, we need to run it again. So let me just stop Tomcat and run it again and see if it is available. All right. Stop it and run it again. Yeah, last try. All right, finish. All right, last try. Yeah, it works, right? Yeah, it works. Yeah. Why? The previous time not available. We need to redeploy the whole web application. Yeah, I didn't redeploy, I used the old one, so the resource has not been updated. I add a new resource. Servlet is a new resource. After I add a new resource, I need to redeploy it to make Tomcat load servlet into the new web application version. Yeah, that's it. All right. Yeah. So you see it works. All right. That's it. Yeah. So yeah, we complete right here. Yeah.